Hello everybody and welcome to this week newsreel. Bogdan here, your host for the next couple of minutes. I hope that you are all doing great. And guys, without further ado, let's start this session with a quiz question for this week, which goes like this. To whom did Lithuania exported the most in 2021 in terms of value? And the options here are Germany, Poland, or the Russian Federation. And guys, the correct answer is the Russian Federation with some $4.4 billion worth of exports, which, by the way, is almost 10% of Lithuania's total exports. And now with the quiz being covered, let's move on to the Freightos index, which once again went down, and we have the general index at $7,098, which is a 2% drop from the previous week, with big movers in the sub-indexes connecting North America, West Coast to China, who went up 9%, and the other one connecting Europe to South America, West Coast, who fell with 11%. As for the main head holes, as usual, I will start with the trans-Pacific ones, and we have $9,195 for the one connecting China to North America West Coast, and $11,784 for the one connecting China to the North American East Coast. For the crossways ones, we have 1% drop on the sub-index connecting China to North Europe, which in absolute terms translates to $10,643, while for the other sub-index connecting China to the Mediterranean, we have a 2% increase, which brings the absolute value to $13,069. So guys, what do you think is happening here? Did we somehow reach a plateau, or things are going to be volatile in the next couple of weeks, months in terms of freights? Because contrary to what some of the US commentators are saying about the huge volumes coming from China to the United States, my educated guess is that we won't see a huge rate increase in the next couple of months. And for this, I have two sets of data that could prove relevant for my premise. The first one is coming from ING Think, and it covers the US retailers as they see signs of softening demand as consumers are reorienting towards services. And if you couple this with a weaker consumer confidence because, households worry about rising cost of living, well, we have a challenging second half ahead of us, to say the least. The second set of data is also about confidence, but this time I've added also the manufacturing sector in the United States in order to see how this moved. And basically, as expected, it goes in tandem with the consumer confidence index, although it's a little bit higher, but nonetheless on a downward trend. And these two indicators should keep retailers very, very conservative and cautious in terms of their inventories, even though, as I've said, some US commentators are expecting, back to school and holiday season supplies to be shipped in advance in order to have the right inventory at the right time. Personally, I don't think that there is going to be a surge of imports, nor a surge in terms of spot rates. Supply chains are reconfigured as we speak. Supplier diversification in East Asia is on the agenda of major companies, if you ask me. So the idea is that until we have a couple of quiet months in which the dust will settle, we can have a clear view on how things will develop and if this Uber cycle for the shipping companies is approaching its end or not. And guys, with this food for thought idea, I will now move to my second story for this week. It's coming from gcaptain.com, and it concerns Senate's version of the Ocean Shipping Reform Act, who passed the US House of Representatives, which was later on signed by POTUS and made it a law. Of course, reactions came from all over the industry, from the United States, from, the International Dairy Foods Association, to the National Retail Federation. all with positive comments, while the World Shipping Council, guys, which is the lobbying arm of the major container shipping companies, is skeptic, what else if you ask me, about this law. And basically it's reiterating the fact that there is competition, there is no concentration. The United States has poor inland logistics performance and capabilities, or I don't know, the US retailers are importing like crazy, or that for the last 2 decades the cheap and abundant capacity for shippers meant low or no margins for the shipping companies. I'm not going to enter into the details here and provide some counter arguments, but instead I will say only this. If you, I don't know, a major container shipping company, have nothing to fear, to be afraid of, why are you so skeptic about these measures? If you consider that, I don't know, the bill requirements are not going to support the US shippers, why are you trying so hard to say otherwise? And my guess, guys, my personal guess is that this rhetoric has to do with the fact that the shipping companies are afraid that other agencies from other places of the world would further regulate how alliances and consortia work, and that they will lose their opaqueness. Anyways, guys, that's how I see things right now. I admit it, I'm heavily biased against some of the shipping companies. I might be way out here. Time will tell how far I am from true right now. So I think it's time to change subject here and move to my next news coming from Reuters, which covers United Arab Emirates' decision to suspend the exports and re-exports of Indian wheat for a period of 4 months. And personally, I think that it has to do also with the conditions in which India is supplying wheat to the United Arab Emirates, but also to somehow try and protect the huge Indian working force present in the United Arab Emirates. And until the harvesting season comes to an end in Russia, which, by the way, is another important supplier of wheat for the United Arab Emirates, this 4 months export ban times perfectly with the end of the harvesting season in Russia and, of course, the subsequent wheat deliveries. So, guys, we have here protectionism at its finest, and personally, I find it strange to see India taking these measures. Anyways, it's just some food for thought, guys. Things are going to be messy, if you ask me, in terms of wheat price and supply disruptions in the next couple of months. Poor and developing countries, as usual, will suffer the most. And most probably this will trigger some civil unrests in the months to come. So it's worth keeping a close eye on how things will develop. Now, changing register, my next news comes from supplychaindive.com and covers the story of Urban Outfitters and how they've managed to trim low profit SKUs in order to boost margins, but also how Urban Outfitters prioritized the core products or profitable ones amid supply chain disruptions. If you ask me, this is not the story of Urban Outfitters only, but the story of the entire retail industry in general, as long lead times and uncertainties drove them to seriously reconsider the whole supply chain. And as I've said it at the beginning of the video, supply chains are reconfigured as we speak, and we will need some time in order to see how the big retailers achieved in terms of supplier diversification, SKU rationalization, or I don't know, supply chain efficiency. But for the moment, my guess is that Vietnam will emerge as a bigger manufacturing cluster for the footwear and apparel industries, somehow grabbing some big business from China. Anyways, that's how I see the general trend for the big retailers involved in the apparel and footwear businesses. You have the link in the description below if you want to dig more, as I will now move to my last news, guys, coming from UNCTAD, as we have the annual World Investment Report. And don't worry, I will not cover the entire findings, but I will highlight a couple of key messages. The first one concerns the foreign direct investments, which in 2021 were up 64% compared with the 2020 volumes, which, by the way, is not the greatest reference year, of course, but the idea is that things moved. The second key message is that 2021 growth momentum is unlikely to be sustained in 2022, at least because of global uncertainties caused by the war in Ukraine and pandemic-related issues. And lastly, the third key message that I want to highlight is that foreign direct investments flows to developing economies, which again are the most vulnerable, grew more slowly than those to developed regions, but still increased to roughly $840 billion, mainly because of the strong growth performance in Asia and an upswing in Africa. And again, if you want to cover all the key findings from this report, you have the link in the description below. As now I will put an end to this video. Thank you all for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe buttons. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.